Hi everyone, I'm Mike and this is the Sunday Art Show. Now this week I'm going to be showing you how to create a mixed media study of a raccoon, and I'm going to be using Sharpie marker pen for the initial drawing and then watercolour using a brush I've just acquired recently. It's kind of a big bulbous brush going to a fine point to create this colourful mixed media painting of a raccoon. So I'm starting out with A4, which is around about 11 inches by 8 inches mixed media paper, and I'm using a Sharpie marker pen to do the drawing. Now the reason I use the Sharpie is for a couple of reasons. One, this is going to effectively be, this video is going to be episode R of the Animal Alphabet Challenge. So that's where I'm doing a drawing of an animal all the way through the alphabet A to Z. But in addition, using the Sharpie, because it puts down a permanent mark, I have to kind of think quite carefully about the lines I'm going to put down, because I can't delete those lines if I make a mistake. So, if I make a mistake, I could try and disguise that mistake in some way. But ideally, I want to avoid mistakes altogether, of course. So the Sharpie marker pen is surprisingly versatile with the range of marks you can put down. But it generally puts down a nice bold line. So you can see I'm just putting the rings on the tail of the raccoon there. And those rings act really nicely to create a sense of 3 dimensions. So I put down a loose outline of the entire body, and now I'm just putting in some shading. And again, I'm having to make, quite firm decisions really, because essentially I can just put down black or nothing. I'm using a black marker pen. Now obviously the reference photo has a whole range of tones, a whole range of values. So I need to be quite selective about the areas I make very dark, and then use less dense shading or less dense line to kind of suggest a mid-tone. But for the most part, I'm just picking out key areas. So you can see I'm colouring in or filling in with black that front paw there. Now, in the original reference photo, that paw isn't really visible. So what I did was actually use a second reference photo. I got both of these reference photos from Pixabay, which is a website which provides royalty-free reference images, because there are no raccoons in the UK at all, as far as I'm aware. I've never seen one in real life, so I don't have any chance to go and actually get my own reference. And then when it comes to working on the eyes with the marker, less is more, definitely, especially when you're working at this small scale, because if you try and get too fiddly with small features, then you lose a lot of the emotion and a lot of the impact. So having done that sketch, I've now taped down the mixed media paper with masking tape, and I'm just using watercolour. I'm using Winsor and Newton professional watercolours. They come in little tubes, and I've just applied a purple wash, and that's just mixed up with colour left on my palette from last time, to be honest. And next I'm coming in with a wash of a purple mixed up mostly from ultramarine blue and a little bit of that purple that I used for the background wash. Now, one of the great things about using watercolour over the top of a Sharpie drawing is because the marker pen is so bold, you kind of preserve the drawing for the most part. So the finished item ends up being, you can either look at it as a drawing and a painting on top, or of course it becomes its own thing, the two combined. But I really like the fact that the drawing shows through the finished work. Now when using watercolour, if you put on a colour a little bit too heavy like I did there with that brown on the front of the animal, you can just lift some of that off with a paper towel, and that will often give you interesting textures within the paint. So watercolour is lovely and lively. You want to use a lot of water, and you can see I'm just using this big brush here, and quite quickly you can just put down patches of this brown on the foliage, on the foreground there, and let the wet in wet effects you get kind of intermingle and do their own thing really, and just be free and let things happen. Now I want to suggest some kind of woodland or something like that in the background, so I just put in a very pale wash of green in the background there. And now I'm adding other colours, and you saw from the reference that was up there a moment ago, those colours are really quite subdued. I like enhancing those colours and seeing what I can get away with. Just enjoying using the point of the brush here to put a little bit of texture on the back of the animal. And this brush is really great because it carries a great deal of water, but you can still do fine detail and big washes with the same brush. Now I've added some neutral tint to my purple here to make the shadows deeper on different parts of the body. And I want to make the white on the tail stand out more. So I'm coming in with that same, it's almost a dark grey wash, but I feel that kind of lost some of the liveliness of the painting, so I've removed most of that with paper towel. And now I'm coming in with a kind of a bluey green wash, and you can see now, look how I can use the point of this brush to pick out these lovely little suggestions of branches, just teasing out the edges of the broader wash, but all with the same brush. So I was talking last week about how much I was enjoying using the water brush, but I'm really enjoying this brush even more, so I'm really looking forward to doing some expressive work with watercolour, and just hopefully using just this one big brush to work on quite a big scale, because I'm going to be able to switch between these huge washes and these little fiddly details just by changing the angle of the brush. And I love being able to work efficiently in that way. I don't like doing art too much, where things get fiddly and laborious. I want to be able to just express what I'm trying to get down on the page as quickly and efficiently as possible. So there's our finished painting, a colourful mixed media study of a raccoon. Hope you've enjoyed this little video. As always, please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and hope to see you next Sunday for the next episode of the Sunday Art Show. Thanks very much for watching.